In the midst of global chaos, one question echoes louder than the rest. What is the current state of the Russia-Ukraine war, and how is the world reacting to Alexei Navalny's death? As we delve into these pressing issues, we'll explore the intricate geopolitical tapestry woven by this conflict, and the profound shockwaves caused by Navalny's untimely demise. To understand the gravity of the situation, we need to rewind the clock and observe the series of events that led us here. 2 years ago, Russia invaded Ukraine, marking the start of a devastating war. The roots of this conflict trace back to deep-seated political tension and territorial disputes. Russia, under the iron-fisted rule of Vladimir Putin, sought to assert its dominance and influence over Ukraine, a country striving to maintain its sovereignty and independence. Ukraine's refusal to succumb to the pressure set the stage for a series of events that would escalate the situation to a full-blown war. Key moments include Russia's annexation of Crimea, a move that defied international law and was met with widespread condemnation. Yet despite the outcry, Russia's actions remained undeterred. As Ukraine rallied its forces, the world watched in trepidation. Efforts to mediate the situation, including sanctions imposed on Russia, seemed to have little effect. Russia's economy, bolstered for arms production, circumvented these measures, revealing a chilling resilience. Meanwhile, the Russian regime continued to flex its power at home, silencing any form of opposition with brutal force. This included the sudden and suspicious deaths of political opponents, a chilling reminder of the lengths Putin was willing to go to maintain his grip on power. As the war raged on, another story was unfolding within Russia's borders. Alexei Navalny, a prominent critic of Putin's regime, became a beacon of hope for many Russians dissatisfied with their government. A lawyer by profession, Navalny turned his focus towards activism, using his platform to expose corruption within Russia's political elite. He was a tireless advocate for democracy and transparency, making him a formidable adversary to Putin's autocracy. However, Navalny's outspoken stance made him a target. He was arrested and, despite global outcry, died in custody. His untimely demise sparked a wave of criticism against Putin's regime, with many pointing out the chilling implications of his death. In the words of President Joe Biden, it was a stark display of Putin's brutality. Navalny's death had repercussions far beyond Russia's borders. It raised alarm bells about the state of human rights in Russia, and further strained the country's relationships with the international community. Many nations unequivocally condemned Navalny's death, with some even considering additional sanctions against Russia. Yet it's important to remember that Navalny's death was more than a political event. It was a tragic loss of a man who dared to challenge the status quo and fight for a better Russia. His death is a poignant reminder of the dangers that come with standing up to an autocratic regime. In the wake of his death, Navalny's work continues to inspire others. His courage and determination have left a lasting legacy, fueling the fight for justice and democracy in Russia. His life may have been cut short, but his influence endures. Navalny's death was not just a blow to Putin's critics, but also a stark reminder of the regime's brutality. Fast forward to the present, the war continues and Navalny's death still resonates around the globe. This grim reality has sparked a global outcry, with countries around the world deliberating on how to respond to such an audacious display of power. The United States, a key player on the world stage, is running out of options to make Russia pay for Navalny's death. President Joe Biden has unequivocally blamed Russian President Putin for the act, calling it proof of Putin's brutality. Despite previous warnings of devastating consequences, Biden has expressed uncertainty on further actions due to the limited impact of prior sanctions. Efforts to restrict Russia's oil and gas exports and high-tech weapon components have been circumvented, with Russia finding ways to bolster its economy for arms production. The US is contemplating additional measures, including potential sanctions on Russian elites' children and transferring frozen assets to Ukraine. However, concerns over legality and effectiveness persist, as current punitive measures have not deterred Putin's aggressive actions. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, some experts suggest that the death of Navalny, Putin's most formidable critic, is seen as a sign of Putin's vulnerability rather than strength. Such actions, they argue, may be intended to deter future opposition leaders and reinforce Putin's control ahead of an upcoming presidential election. Yet, as we grapple with these complex issues, the war rages on. The deaths of Navalny and other political opponents continue to be a stark reminder of the authoritarian power that Putin wields, but they also shine a light on the potential weakness of his regime. As we stand on the precipice of change, the world watches and waits, ever hopeful for a resolution. In the face of war and loss, the resilience of the human spirit prevails. As we've seen, the Russia-Ukraine war continues unabated, with the world watching in anticipation and concern. Amidst this, the death of Alexei Navalny has sparked a global outcry, highlighting the authoritarian tactics of Putin's regime. Despite the chilling effects of such brutality, the fight for justice persists. Questions remain about the effectiveness of sanctions and the resilience of Putin's regime. As we continue to bear witness to these events, we are reminded that the fight for justice and peace is far from over.